Good afternoon, Ghostly Talk Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Ghostly Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. With me today is Amanda. Hi, Amanda. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome, awesome. So our topic today is choose hope over anxiety. So in this video, we are going to actually, today's topic, we are going to discuss about how to explore the power of hope and how it can actually help us to overcome anxiety, to overcome challenges in life. The life can be really, really difficult, and anxiety can affect many people. There are so many people who are affected by anxiety, and they feel like they don't have control over their lives, because when you don't have control with your thoughts and emotions, you cannot live a life that is fulfilled. So we'll discuss the practical tips and strategies on how to cultivate life and enjoy hope. And faith and hope all goes together. What do you think about the topic, Amanda?
I really like this topic because so often our anxious mind can take over. And when we get in that anxious cycle, sometimes it's really hard to get out and shift your mind to a more positive thought or to something that you can hope for, because you get almost get stuck and your brain goes over and over and over and over again in that loop of unhealthy thoughts. And so sometimes one of the ways that we can replace some of our anxiety is by actually physically replacing it with something else. So they say that the only way to overcome an addiction is to actually replace it with something else. So if you're trying to shift something in your life, you actually have to replace that pattern that you had before with something else. So if your pattern is an anxious pattern, you need to learn how to consciously shift it into a hope pattern, and then you'll be able to actually shift it. And so it's interesting. I know it's a lot harder than it is to do just to say it, because I also struggle from anxiety as well. And when I get in those anxious cycles, sometimes it's really hard to get out, especially in the middle of the night. But having tools to get you out of that. So even, for example, last night I woke up in the middle of the night, kind of feeling anxiety in my chest and not really sleeping very well. And so one of my tools was to start read. And so that's one of my tools to start, and it's a positive book on mindfulness or something that I'll try to read in the middle of the night to get me out of that. Or another tool is to put on a meditation. And that's the thing that actually got me back to sleep, was putting on a calm evening meditation. And because I read for about 45 minutes and that wasn't helping. So then I put on the evening meditation, and that helped, and that got me back to sleep. So choosing hope over anxiety is kind of sometimes just making those conscious choices to pick something that's going to get your brain out of that anxious cycle. Hi, Grant. Our topic today is choose hope over anxiety. And so I was just talking about how sometimes we need to replace that anxious cycle or anxious pattern with something positive. And so that's where I left off.
Great point. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. And replacing that pattern, because I think when it comes to anxiety, it is exactly that. It is a pattern. And I think in life, we all develop patterns and habits. And when something triggers it, we can often start that cycle. And I think it is, very often about recognizing that cycle, recognizing and thinking, here I go again. And I certainly noticed that with most people, and even myself. If there's something that makes you anxious, it's normally that same kind of thing again, and that's what happens. And I think it's a great subject, and one worth tackling, because it affects so many people indeed. It does. What do you think, Nomsa? What's your thoughts on that?
Why is your audio so low, Grant? Normally you're loud. Is it normal?
What did you say? My volume? Yes,
No,
yes.
it's fine. Oh, okay. When you lean back, your
Oh,
sound change. Yeah, I'm actually I'm with Amanda. Sometimes you have to replace that pattern. As long as you know the pattern, I've never suffered the anxiety anyway. Because I don't allow stress. I'm always meditating and fasting to actually connect with my inner being. So that's how I deal with the avoiding stress. And also, when it comes to things, I think the person, the way I was raised, like in Africa and being where I am in the UK, it also helps me a lot to look at where I come from and to look at the life that I have when I'm stressed. So I have hope looking back to where the people that live in Africa, how they are grateful. As we get taught from a very young age to have faith in life. So that's when, as Christians, we get trained that you have to have faith, even things that they're not going your way. Having faith, it means it is something you hope for the things to go accordingly. So you have to have this gratitude, but not everybody follows that. Some people, they end up with getting stress and depression, and some of it is all genetic as well. Some people, they genetically, there's a depression in the family, so some people can have that. But when you replace, like Amanda, when she was talking about his story, how when she has anxiety, how she wake up and focus on the positive and read. Because when you read, some people meditate, some people do different things. And when you read, it's like you're doing a mindfulness. Amanda, you're a mindful coach. So you do the things that you know that they're going to help you. So I think it is good for our audience to actually have some strategy, because we live in this world where things are gonna, the stress, the anxiety, if you run your own business, like you guys, you know how it's like to run your own business, the clients, the pressure, everything, things don't always go your way, or the bills. Those who have been affected by the pandemic, some people are still struggling to go back to work since the pandemic, and the anxiety can actually can come in if you don't know how to deal with it and all those things. So what do you think, Amanda? Let's say if somebody they don't believe in gratitude, they don't have faith in anything, what advice can you give them, like in the past, before you go into personal development, that has helped you to be where you are today? Simple advice that they can, strategy that they can use.
Yeah, one of the things that helps me like get out of funks is to start doing things that I love to do, and that would be to paint or to draw or to create or to get out and get physical exercise. Like that can sometimes like take you out of an anxious cycle as well, is just the simple act of like getting out of your house and going for a walk and being present in that moment. And there's a whole bunch of research on a gratitude practice and how being grateful for 3 things can actually help rewire your brain and create new neural pathways to help you deal with anxiety and stress and depression. There, I think too, is lots of like things that come up that are anxiety producing in your life, and you need tools in order to be able to deal with them. And so Grant, it actually helps speakers. And so I'm really curious, Grant, how do you coach speakers when they're having anxiety about starting a new speaking career or getting up on stage? Because that, as an as a like introvert, for me, that is something that I want to strive to do, is to be able to speak up on stage, but it's also very anxiety producing for me. So I'm curious what you do to instill hope to help your clients overcome anxiety.
well, thanks, Amanda. And yeah, there's a few different ways which I can help clients with that. And one is through hypnotherapy, which is very, very powerful, very, very powerful, and pretty quick too for helping them do that. But I mean, if I think that's suitable for the client. But otherwise, I will talk to them about, it's called performance anxiety. And performance anxiety comes in many different forms. But one of the key things around performance anxiety, and it sounds contrary to belief, is actually our ego. Now, it's natural to all feel a little bit nervous before you go on stage or before you do something. It's natural. So firstly, there's nothing wrong with you. But when you think about it and dive deeper, we're scared about looking stupid, doing something wrong, etc., etc. That's actually our ego speaking. It's our ego because we're worried about ourselves. It's about how people judge us, and it's partly our ego, and a lot of fear. I mean, fear and ego are very closely related, or in fact interlinked. But what I try to help people do is to find their passion, and when they really find their passion and their voice, they just want to share that with their audience. And that overrides everything. So I get them concentrated more on that, and there's different techniques I use to get them involved into that, so that they care so much about just splitting that message that it comes from here and not from here. And in other words, it gets them out of their own head. And it's, we say, rather than being behind your eyes, in other words, in your own head, it gets you in front of your eyes and with your audience. And that's exactly where you should be. And once you do that, even if you make a mistake, they'll forgive you for everything, because it's that word which I always talk about. It's intention. It's not the way it's perceived. I critique speakers on their professional speaking. And when I look at them, I always tell the story that sometimes I've seen people who have broken all the rules. They've done it all wrong. They haven't done it the way they was taught at all, but they've done it with so much goodwill and passion and exuberance that they're absolutely brilliant. And that proves my point. When they get out of their own head and get into the heads and the hearts of the people in the audience, their heart overflows, and that's really it. And that way they do it. And by doing it more and more often, they get good anyway. And then they start to remember the stuff they was taught. So that's effectively how I do it. But hypnotherapy is extraordinarily helpful for people. Even if I have someone who's gone on stage and they have stage fright at that moment, I can pull them to one side for a few minutes, do a quick, couple of processes on them, and they're good to go. And that's what I want to do. So yeah, if anybody out there is listening and I had that issue, something coming up, it happened the other day, someone I know, oh my God, I've been asked to speak at this ladies' conference. Can you help me? Blah, 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 blah. And I did. And they did fantastically. So yeah, there's your answer, Amanda. That's how I start to do it. Okay.
I love those.
I love that, what Grant just said, and I'm going to comment first what Amanda said, that you have to have 3 things that you are grateful of to rewire your brain when you have anxiety. And I think that strategy, it works a lot. For me, it's the life, my breathing. If I'm breathing, I'm so grateful for my breathing, my good health, and I'm grateful of my family and having God in my life. Those are the things that actually brings me together. And when I look at my life, I'm like, I'm still here. Somebody else is being told that they're dying with a member of family. Somebody else that I've never met, they're being told the member of their family has died. But I'm here, so I need to be grateful. I don't want to be selfish. And comes to Grant thing as well, comment about the speaking thing. I think the most thing, like Grant, you said, people get scared of being stupid and being judged and stuff. I think we do all those things. We say we want to do this, but then at the end of the day, we start worrying about what people are going to say, the message. So for me, I'll say, if anyone is listening, like Amanda wants to get speaking gigs, for me, my fear, I think the most fear was I wanted to complicate things. When Des said, Nomsa, speak on stage, for me, I wanted to do the fancy talk. But then in the end, I realized actually I was getting like the anxiety and started ringing him, and they will be on the phone. He'll be like, Nomsa, you do realize that I actually asked you to speak about something you already know, and why are you calling me now? And I'll be like trying to tell him 20 reasons, there's excuses, and he'll be like, no, you're just worried about no reason. Can you just focus on the message that you already know? Don't try to complicate things. Keep things very simple. And cut the phone, and then he will ring me and check on me, and he won't talk about the speaking. He'll be talking about something else, like what I do, and I'll be like, I know what you're doing. So he'll be asking me questions. I'll be like, but you already know this is what I do. And he'll be like, yeah, that's what I want you to talk about. So I think keeping things very simple, it does help a lot. And the message that you already know, because people they want somebody who's going to help them to actually ease their pain. So if you already know that message and you go and watch Tony Robbins and wanting to complicate things, so I think that's when it's gonna cause the anxiety. So when I decided actually to speak from the heart, like Grant was saying, speak from the heart, the message, what made me decide to do the things that I do. And I find things, I was surprised. People were like interested. And I was like, okay, so I can do this. But I was really, really like being judged. I didn't fear about being judged, because I know people, no matter how good you are, people always find things to say. Because I've seen when I go to Andy Harrington is a professional speaker. Sometimes people will be making comment, and I'll be like asking me negative questions. I'll be like, I want to take notes. I need to get home and implement what the man is talking about. I don't want to hear that he's no good, he's not talking, he wants to sell, he can sell, is fine. Because, when you go to a business event and somebody speaks for a long day, they want to upsell after, it's fine, because they've given you that information all day, so they shouldn't be feeling guilty, and it's up to other people to go and buy the products. So me, I just go to the business events. If I hear Amanda is speaking, all I want to know is, what is she talking about? Is the message related to what I'm looking for? Can she help me? Make sure I have a space on my phone. Why do I make sure I delete messages and stuff? I have a space. When she's talking, I just hold my phone and making sure I'm recording. When I get home, because I know I'm not allowed to post that on social media, exactly the thing that has been talking about, I implement it straight away. So I think you just have to believe in yourself. If anyone is watching, just believe in the message that you already know. The rest, it comes, like Brandy was saying, it comes normal, it comes natural. And when you speak from the heart as well, like what Brandy was saying, people can relate to you. But if you make things up, people will be like, oh, it's complicating things. If try to fancy and do the fancy things.
As I listen to all of you, like 3 big ways come to mind of how we can find hope over anxiety. And one of them is finding your passion, which you guys were just all talking about. And the second one is intention setting. And Grant spoke a little bit about that, about how to set your intention so that you can thrive in speaking or whatever it is that you are having anxiety about, and setting that intention clearly and consciously. And then the third one is using tools such as meditation and hypnotherapy and gratitude to really empower yourself to overcome that anxious cycle. And so why do we want hope? I think that's some of the one of the reasons we should be talking about too, is why are we striving for hope over anxiety? Well, we want hope because that's, if we stay in that anxious cycle, we're going to be stuck in the same pattern and we're not going to have growth, right? And I think with hope there comes growth, because we can hope for a positive outcome, but that's also not setting expectations on the positive outcome, right? And so with hope, we can hope for things but not be attached to the outcome. And I think that's something that's really important too, is not to always be attached to a certain outcome that we want to happen, because that attachment piece can also cause anxiety. So if you go into a new relationship and you're anxious about relationships because you've had negative relationships in the past, but you have hope that maybe this time things will change, and you've been working on your intentions, you've been working on your passions, you've been working on your goals, you've been meditating and doing different strategies to heal from your past. Even if that relationship doesn't work out the way that you hoped for, you're not attached to the outcome of that for your like happily ever after forever, right? And so I think sometimes we can hope for things but not be attached to them, and that be okay, because hope gives us, like, uplifts us and allows us to try things that we're maybe a little bit afraid of. And so I really like how hope can allow us to step into things that we're maybe a little bit fearful of in different areas, whether it's speaking or whether it's putting yourself out on a dating app, or getting into the dating world again and stepping into something that maybe is causing you anxiety because of something that's happened in your past. And so I really think hope has power to shift us out of fear in some areas. What do you think, Grant?
I think you just hit upon a really great set point there, and it is about attachment, and it's something which I allude to sometimes and try to remind myself of is that letting go. Um, and when I speak to people about letting go, it's a really interesting thing, because we all feel we have more control about holding on. But if you can get into the sense of just letting go and just letting it be, it is absolutely, and I've done it myself on several occasions, and I'm fairly good at letting go of things. But sometimes when you haven't let go and you want to, when you can remind yourself and allow, and that's the word, allow yourself, because no one else is doing it for you, it's only down to you. When you can allow yourself to just relax and just let go, it is the most powerful, the most liberating thing you can ever do for yourself. Because I once said, I think I'd like to make a load of money and just give it all away. Don't want any of it. It would be the most liberating thing to do, to have mass a load of it and just give it all away. Because that is the ultimate ability. It is, if anyone wants strength, particularly, and people do at various times in life. If you want, the ultimate strength is to give it away. The ultimate strength is just to throw everything away, because you don't need anything. All you really need is yourself. A very, very, very wealthy person who's a friend of a friend, if he goes on a business trip, just takes the clothes he's wearing and a laptop. Now, it's an unusual philosophy. That's all he'll take. Everything else, he'll buy when he's there. He'll go to a shop, buy 4 or 5 white shirts, a couple of pairs of trousers, pants, pairs of shoes, a jacket, and then leaves them all in a hotel, just brings the laptop home. And his philosophy is, you need to learn to let go of crap. You don't need it. You don't need it. Obviously, on that trip, he makes way, 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 way more money than the cost of those clothes. But he said this is one of the ways he does it. We hold on to so much stuff we really don't need. Now, I'm not quite where he is with that, but I love the idea that you just say, it's just things. It's nothing. All he does need is that laptop, because he's got information in it. Or in fact, he just needs that laptop backed up. He doesn't even really need the laptop, right? He just needs that information and himself. That's what he does need. Everything else is replaceable. And that's what he's trying to say to himself. So he has a complete feeling of non-attachment to things that don't really make a difference. So I often talk about the things that the difference that makes the difference. We all talk about things, but what's the real big thing that makes a difference? So he's really honed that down quite well. So he's become very unattached. So if you just take that analogy, it may sound a bit crazy what it does. And I even think, come on, how long does it take to pack a few things in a bag? But I think he doesn't do it for that reason. He does it to exercise his mind into non-attachment. And he says that's one of the big keys to success. And this guy is a multi-millionaire. Okay. So when you learn to let go of things, it's great. Now, a great speaker once said, not to me directly, but said to the audience, you know, he believes, he used to get uptight when things happen and they don't seem to work out that well for him. Now he relaxes. When something goes a bit wrong and would normally tick you off, he goes, okay. He now has a firm belief that things will happen for the best for him. So it's like in the lap of the gods, like, okay, let it be. It's okay. It will all work out best for me. And he just lets go. And he said, when he has that attitude, things seem to work out wonderful. He tends to have the Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to gold. You know, so when you think back, this is true. When we all think back in our lives, when certain things happen, and it happened to me just the other day. I can't remember exactly what it was. If I could, I'd share the example. But it was one of those things again, where something happened at the time. You think, why did that happen? You know, I wanted it to go like this, and instead it went like that. And sometime after, you think, well, now I get it. Now I get it. Now I get why someone or something up there or the universe, whatever you want to call it, steered me away from that and there. Now I get it. It was meant to be, wasn't it? Because this great thing that's happening now would not have happened had I gone down my desired path at that moment. Something saw me and said, not for you, Grant, not there. You've gone off track, my friend. You need to go that way. And if you're not listening, I'm going to put this big rock in front of you that makes you turn that way. And I thought, there you go. There's one of those things. At the time, I couldn't see it. But right now, thank you. That was one of those things. So that gives me confidence to just sometimes let go and say, okay, say la vie, let it be, because, you know, it tends to work out well in the end. And that was the point that speaker made. And that's how he learns to just let go and not be attached. I think that's a brilliant point that you brought up, Amanda. And that's what I wanted to add to that. Nom, sir, I can see you nodding there. What are you thinking? What's going through your mind?
Oh no, I love that. I love that things will work out well in the end. That's my belief. Although sometimes the people always think that I'm not normal, and but when things go wrong, I never really start getting stressed, because I always have the attitude that things always work out in the end, regardless of what we go through in life. Things always come together as long as you're willing to hold on to that hope, because the hope is you having an agreement in faith, hoping that things will happen the way you expect. And also, I like it when Amanda said hope comes with growth. When you hold on to hope, my daughter's name is Hope. That's why I called my company Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency. Some people lose hope when it comes to life because of the challenges they have gone through in life. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't ask to be born in that bloodline, certain bloodline, but we do. We can't divorce our families. Some people get so many challenges, they even hope that their lives would have been different, but instead of having faith, problems are the ones that give us strength. Creativity comes from problems. If life was a beautiful life where there was no problems, where everything was so beautiful, it would be boring. But with problems comes beautiful life. If you see like big speakers, billionaires, they build their lives through hope, through problems. So that's where hope comes in, that you just have to believe and trust that things are going to work out the way they should. When I was young, I used to go I used to have my own place where if I'm not happy, I just read the book of Psalms. I just read it, Psalms 100, verse 1. I just say the verse out loud. And every time I'm sad, I would just say the verse out loud and just being happy. And I just go and ask my grandmother, why life does it have to be like this? So she will explain to me. And those are the things that I grew up holding on to hope. And sometimes I'll go to school and in the end, my family stopped buying me loads of shoes because I'll go to school and I see somebody coming to school without shoes, and I'll look at myself and I just I'll give away my school shoes and go home walking with barefoot. And my family would just look at me, where's your shoes? I'll be like, oh, she didn't have shoes. So I thought it would be nice to share. You always talk about sharing and having hope that things will happen. So this person deserved to have another pair. So in the end, they ended up buying me one pair. So I ended up having one pair because they knew that I'll give it away. But that is the attitude that I grew up with. Even when I have problems, it doesn't matter how big my problems are. I hold on to hope, and I know that nothing stays the same. Things will change. And I know that, like Amanda was saying, that we have to set the intention. So I have to focus on where I'm going. So I just focus on that, my journey. And if things don't work according to plan, I take a sit back and I relax, and I know that everything is just going to work out just fine. If I receive bad news, I receive it, I go to sleep on that, and I believe that everything is going to work out well in the end. And that's who I am. And I ended up having a divorce because my spouse couldn't understand what kind of a person I am. I was like, one day you will understand that stressing and worrying is a waste of time. And I was like, why is it a waste of time? I was like, if you grew up where I come from, I didn't grow up with everything. There were things that sometimes I didn't have. And sometimes we didn't have water. And sometimes we'll be like hoping that we'll go and find water. Or sometimes I loved fishing. I'll go and fish. And I couldn't catch no fish. And I'll be like, tomorrow we're going back. And when we go back, it will be like having loads of fish. And I'll be like, do we need to do with all these fish? What are we going to do with them? And we ended up sharing with our friends. So it's the life that you just have to train yourself. You have to put that strategy in place. But sometimes in life, we have these big expectations. Big. There was the information that I think I spent a few months on YouTube looking for it. And I went online researching and I couldn't find it. The other day, I wasn't looking for the information and I see the video and this guy is talking about the information and that I was like looking for it. And I was like, great. If I was like somebody who gets stressed, I would have been get straight. Now the information is just coming to me and I'm not even looking for it. It's like a copy and paste. This link is already prepared. The link, I tried to find it myself, to create it, and things that didn't work. And then I got fed up and then I left. So it's very, very important as a human being to know that even if life doesn't make sense, or the doctors give you the news that you don't expect, sometimes your mind can heal yourself by accepting. If the doctor tells you the sickness, I never agree to the doctors anyway. I always rebuke it. I'm like, no, I'm going to accept my own prescription. My prescription says I'm not sick. And then when I go home, I work on my healing. And when I work on my healing, things go away. And I go back to the doctors and they're like, it doesn't make sense. I was like, doctor, in my heart, I'm like, you never understand the power of healing. So it does exist. That's where hope comes in. or with the anxiety. Amanda says she suffers from anxiety. There are so many people, big speakers, that says they suffer from anxiety, but you wouldn't believe it because they manage they know how to manage it. And some things are genetic, so you just have to break the code and learn to manage it, and then you'll be okay. But some people, it takes over because they agree with it. They agree with the problems. They come to an agreement with the problems that is never going to work, is never going to be okay, I'm never going to be healed. And then the problem stays that way. So I love what Amanda's thing, and Granty as well. And so, Amanda, if anyone is watching now and they, maybe let's say they have their own businesses. We've talked about ordinary things. If someone has a business and they want to give up because things are not going the way they want, because the first is 2 years, or the first 2 years. First 2 years, for me, first 3 years were very, very challenging when I started business. I don't know you guys, but for me, the first year, I had no clue what I was doing. I was like walking and learning along the way. But if somebody, they walk that path, they're like, get excited, I want to start my own business, and then things don't work out the way they expect, what advice can you give them to use that hope? How can they use hope to avoid the anxiety and the word I quit?
Well, I think so much of hope revolves around perseverance as well, and our ability to be resilient with change and to persevere even though there are struggles. And so in any business or in any relationship or anybody's life, we've all come up with struggles, trauma, things that, like Grant said, the rock in the road that makes you go around. And we all have had those, and really it's about perseverance and your ability to be resilient in those situations and think outside the box, or to try a new strategy, or to get a coach that will help you navigate what it is that your business is struggling with, because we learn so much faster when somebody can teach us exactly what it is that we need to do. And also, then you're not hitting some of those same struggles that the person who's coaching you had gone through as well, because they've already gone through those struggles and those walls and those things that make them want to give up and quit. But as you were speaking before about hope, it really connects with healing and our ability to heal ourselves and to heal our lives. And it brought me back to this acronym on heal and healing that I learned a long time ago from one of my psychologists. And so the HEAL acronym stands for hope, educate, affirm, and long-term. So essentially, when there's a situation you're really struggling with, you can write out the acronym HEAL and reset your thinking. So write out H, I hope that, and then E, I know that, so that education piece. You can affirm, I will always, and then long-term, what are you going to commit to? And I think you could use that even in business as well. And I think that's such a powerful tool to shift your thinking from an anxiety mindset to a hope mindset and a healing mindset. And I've kept that with me, that HEAL acronym with me for almost 10 years now, that one psychologist had given me when I was really struggling with my divorce. And actually through my divorce struggles, it actually came up that it was so much trauma from my childhood and generational trauma that I was struggling with. So the majority of my counseling didn't have anything to do with my divorce. It had everything to do with trauma from childhood that I hadn't processed and didn't even understand. And so that HEAL acronym for me was like, I hope that parents or businesses or whatever are able to do this. I educate, I know that this is the case, and then I can affirm that this, and I'm from now on, I'm going to do this to ensure that I am my best self. And I think that's just such a powerful tool to really shift your mindset. What do you think, Grant?
Oh, well,
Dr. Julia says hi from LinkedIn. Sorry, guys. Hi, Dr. Julia. Julita, not Julia, Julita. That's a nice name, actually.
yeah, I just wanted to contemplate what you were saying there, man. And I love that list you gave. That was absolutely fantastic. And you also hit upon a few great things there, a few really good things, which I love. And now, one of them is that, yeah, what you said about yourself, your childhood trauma, it wasn't about your divorce. In the world of, sort of therapy and energy clearing and stuff like this, which I do, and hypnotherapy, we have an expression that the thing is never a thing. Someone came to me the other day, hey, I've got a fear. I don't know. I've reached 50 years of age, and suddenly I've reached 50 and I've got a fear of going over bridges. It's nothing to do with bridges. I know.
Fear of what, Grant?
Bridges, going over a bridge, bridge over water,
Yeah.
not even over just, I don't know, over anything, over a valley. Bridges, this lady's getting fear of going up. Now, I know, and it's nothing funny in it, but it's just like, I never used to be afraid of bridges, but I don't know, I've reached 50 and I think it's got something to do with reaching 50. It's nothing to do with bridges, it's just some trigger. It's symbolic. It's so the thing is never the thing. People come along and say, yeah, I'm afraid of popcorn, for example. I'm like, but not popcorn. I had a guy come up to me at a conference the other day. He said, you Grant, I've heard you're the guy who can help me. I said, oh yeah? Well, he said, I heard you can help me with onions. I said, sorry? He said, you can help me with onions. I said, onions? He said, yeah. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I think you got the wrong person. I'm not a greengrocer. He said, no, I've got a fear of onions. And I said, oh, I understand what you mean. I said, okay. And, basically it was about, his father hated onions. And his father had always said to him, oh, onions are awful things. They're terrible. Oh, nobody would, I can't imagine what kind of person would like onions. And of course, he heard this as a small kid. And he grew up thinking he was bad if he likes onions, And I said, okay, maybe I can help you with onions. Can you make me like them? I said, if you want to like onions, yeah. And he was saying, hey, it makes his life so difficult. He goes around a friend's house for dinner. Onions are in a lot of food, etc., etc. So, yes, the thing is never a thing. It wasn't the onion. It was the association given to it. So it always is. So, people come along with these things. I'm afraid of this, or I don't like this. It's not that. It's emotional stacking. It's something that's happened. So you help to unlock that first experience, see what it was, go before it, clean it up, put it back where it was, and that's effectively what we do in the world of hypnotherapy. Now, you were talking about, stage anxiety, and the form of coaching that I use. I mean, I've got several different formats of coaching, but the main one that I used to first use was a derivative from a form of coaching that was used for a very, very famous, very, very world famous international singer of massive support. I don't think I'll mention her name, but she as fantastic as she is, and she's the singer's singer. All the singers say she's great. She used to get terrible stage fright, want to throw up because she didn't feel she was any good. How ridiculous is that? But that's what she felt. And the form of coaching which I use derives from that coaching she had to get her over that. So it does. And it helps you to understand really where you're going, what you want to do, what the value in yourself is. And the brain, as I always say, the brain is an evidence-based being, is an evidence-based thing. It looks for evidence. So as great as that singer was, she probably remembered a time when she wasn't at her best or thought someone was better. And she's magnified that out of all proportion and mapped that over to every experience, rather than put it in proportion and thinking, most of the time I'm absolutely fantastic. Just that one time I wasn't that great. And the reason was because this. So if I just do that, it's going to make sure that doesn't happen. You've got to put the logic into the brain, but the brain is evidence-based, but sometimes we alter the evidence we put into it. Rather, like if you speak to a computer expert, they'll say, a computer isn't a thinking thing. It just does what you tell it. So if you put rubbish in, it will produce rubbish out. Right. So that's the thing they'll say. And the same with the brain. Be careful what you put into it, because that's what that will be its output also. So be very careful. We drink water because it's good for us. We put it in, right? And be careful what you read. I always say to people, be careful of the people you associate with. Be careful, because that gets stuck in here. Be careful of the books you read, the conversations you have, the television program. That stuff is all hypnotic, which is fine if it's good stuff. So make sure you're putting good ingredients in there, and that's it. Yeah. So certainly that's what I just wanted to say to that, Amanda. And I love those lessons that you were given. And I certainly think you can map those across the business too. Well done. Nomsa.
I love Amanda's story. Going through divorce, and then you realize the anxiety has nothing to do with the divorce. I think we've all been there, where we think the problem is, and when you go through the counseling, and then you realize actually the problem is back to the childhood or something attached to it. It's amazing how the generational things can affect our present life. My pastor is really, really good at those things, generational things. He always say, in life, you have to look at your parents, the pattern there that can affect your life. And then you look at your grandparents and the pattern, how they lived their lives. And then you look at your ancestors, their fathers, they ask questions. And he believes that, he always says that everyone has some genius in them. And it's just, we have to believe, we have to have faith when it comes to life. Like Grant is saying, that people come to you with the different things that you actually don't expect. For me, I was scared of something. I'm not gonna say it. I was scared. There was something that I had fear of, and until this celebrity spirit came to me and asked me to join it, and that's when I realized that's why I had fear. But it took me a long time. So I'm never ever going to believe in depression anymore, and I'm never ever going to believe in the anxiety. Just because of what he did, he made me realize the truth of why people get anxiety and stuff. Because I've never suffered from anxiety or depression, but when I used to play certain music, like he'll control my mind, like he make me feel like I want to play the music, and then I'll play it, but it was the way he was showing me how they work. I'll play somebody's music, an artist, a famous artist, and then I'll feel the anxiety, but when you put the tissues in your ears, and then it disappears because there's another energy that is blocking that. Then I'll be like, what the heck is going on? So that's when I realized they're actually torturing people with magic. And then I was like, now when I feel it, I'm like, get lost. And sometimes people look at like, who is she talking to? My earphones. So yeah, sometimes you have to have faith. When it comes to life, you have to have control, have this strategy, and also look at your family as well, because you can actually cut some generational codes, that the lives, that the things that affected your parents, so they don't affect you, because otherwise it becomes a pattern. So you have to learn how to cut it, and you have to learn, or even sometimes when you are fearing of something, you have to find out, why do you fear those things? For me, when I was in Africa, I used to stay in the water. I used to go in the water, swim. We used to go like swimming every day. But when I came to the UK, I started fearing. I couldn't even remember how to swim. So when I actually realized this thing, when it came, I realized actually, they are actually, when you join them, they actually take people's talent. So you lose hope with life and thinking your life is hopeless, but somebody else can actually enjoy that life. So you have to have faith when it comes to life. It's like when you say, you're looking for love. it might take a long time to find that special person. So you have to have hope that eventually it's going to happen. That's why I always say to my clients, love happens everywhere, even in the bus stop. There are no fancy places where you can find love. I always say, you go to the bus stop, you may find somebody driving a Lamborghini and they broken down. And that person is meant to be your husband, and you, because we don't talk these days, we put earphones on, we don't have faith, or we don't have hope anymore. So we just give up on life. So you don't have to give up on life. I always say to my clients, wherever you go, if somebody comes to you and say hello, let's say if you meditate or you're manifesting, you're praying for things to happen. Things will happen in unexpected places. When you go to Waitrose, go to Tesco's, go to Marks and Spencer for food shopping, there might be an angel there that is there to help you. So you just have to be that person that has hope in life. Even if life doesn't make sense, you meet Grant and Grant comes and says, hello, Nomsa. Here's me looking at Grant, him like, what is it to you? What do you want from me? That's what people do. Honestly, when you say hello, like I now, like in the area where I live, people are used to me saying hello to them. Normally, they're like, oh, okay. Even when you go to something, I find it is rude when I go to for shopping, and the cashier just takes the things, and I'm like, they're not saying hello, how are you? If she speaks first without a hello, I always say hello to acknowledge them that actually I appreciate you. So I think those things we've lost. That's why people don't have hope anymore. We've lost that generational, what do you call it, Grant? And you're I'm 43. How old are you?
Yeah, generational trauma.
Yeah,
trauma is what you call it.
No, yeah, the generational trauma. But there's this thing where, like, I know UK before it wasn't like this, because if you look at the older, like, generation, people who are 60 or 70, when you talk to them, when you meet them, they want to talk. By our younger generation, we don't want to talk.
Well, the world changed subtly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Change. I mean,
so how can we have hope? Amanda, help here. How can our people in our generation have hope in life? We wanted to give them some.
I think what you do is you have to lead. I'll come to it. Before I do, I just want to say a quick hi to Julia on LinkedIn. Hi, yeah. Julia. Good to see you, Julia. Thanks for being there. And yeah, I mean, things change. You know, culture justly changes. I mean, people have never been more together than when there was adversity. So in the UK, they will always say that, unfortunately, the war did more to bring together the class society than anything else, because everybody was as much danger as each other. So people, and the expression they used at the time apparently was, they mucked in together. Okay. They got involved with the muck together. But of course, in a fast-paced metropolis, people are less tight, they're more driven towards achievement and have less time. But London has always been traditionally a very friendly place. But let's be really, really honest about this. In all cities around the world, where you have a cosmopolitan city, where there's more different cultures together, it does provide a little bit of a challenge for people communicating, because when people come, when people live together, they tend to have enclaves. People tend to have enclaves to a greater extent, not always, but when they do, you have your own traditions, your own cultures together, and to keep those together, which doesn't necessarily be that conducive for mixing together. It can be if you actively do it, but naturally it doesn't. If you just look at the way we go to a party, we always go to a party with friends and tend to stay with our friends. It tends to take a conscious effort to move out and meet new people. And that's what happens. So this can tend to cause a little bit of isolation sometimes, unless it's managed correctly. And I think this is why you can tend to get situations where people don't talk. Also, fast-paced life. Also, where cities provide opportunities, it brings a transient kind of community. Now, if you get an area, for example, where there's high, let's say doctors and hospitals, you would get a high community of people come along who stay there for a year or two. They are seconded to that hospital. They are seconded to that business for a couple of years. So they don't necessarily lay down roots because they're not really staying that long anyway. It's a transit. They rent properties. They live there for a short length of time. They don't get involved with the community. They move away. And that can have a feeling of isolation on people who've lived there for a long time. So all these things I understand from community work I do. So these could be the reasons. But how can you combat it? It's by being that weirdo, being that leader, being that person who does sit on the train and go, wow, it's raining again. And like, wow, God, just made that train in time. Yeah. Oh, it's good to be finished work, is it? It's to be that person. And everyone will go, but not everyone will. Someone will say, yeah, I was thinking the same. Because they really want someone to talk to. They
Yeah.
don't dare do it. So be that nutter, be that crazy person.
The nutter.
Because it will brighten people's day up. Most people will talk, and then you'll see the ones who won't talk, but they'll still communicate. They'll kind of go, yeah, they want to talk, but they don't dare. But if you do it a few times, they'll come out. Or they're the ones who will stand up, and as they get off the train, they'll just say something and leave. But you know what? You brightened them up. You've made them end the day with a smile. You've left them in better condition than you found them. So that's how you do it. If we all go around and just do that in a positive, nice way, you know what? It starts to create a positive trend. And that's the way I think you change it, piece by piece, person by person, situation by situation. That's my advice. Amanda, what do you think?
What do you think, Amanda? Before you go, I know you're looking at the time. We want to hear you.
I love that. Just like be the weirdo that talks to people on the train. You never know who you're going to connect with, and I really think that's that intention of being. If you're stuck in business or if you're stuck in a relationship or something, set the intention to be like, I'm attracting exactly the right people to help me grow. And if you set that intention every single morning, you'll be open to attracting those people into your life. And it might not happen that day, but it might happen in a week, or it might happen in a month, or it might happen in a year, but you will attract those people to help you grow as you set the intention for that growth and for that hope. And so for me, even I set the intention, this was a number of years ago, but I was like, I scribbled down a children's book after a meditation at a retreat. And then I was like, I just had intended to draw pictures for the book and publish it like you publish like photo books for your house, and and just have one book in my classroom. But then people started connecting me with other people who knew how to publish on Amazon. And that's how essentially I started writing children's books and becoming an author, was because I just had set the intention, even just for myself. And I didn't really talk to a lot of people about it, but they connected me with the people to help me learn and grow. And I've always been absolutely amazed that when I'm ready for the next step on my growth journey, someone just magically like pops up. And it's like, they're the person that I needed to meet to be like, oh, you should read this book, or, oh, you need to connect with this person because they were a kindergarten teacher and now they self-publish on Amazon, or all of these things. But it has to be part of your intention and part of your passion to that, but you have to be open to it. If I wasn't open to connecting with those people, I wouldn't have had that growth. And so I really think our intention is so powerful because it allows us to attract into our lives exactly what we are intending. And it might not look the way we hoped, but our intention has so much power.
I love that. I love that. I know, Amanda, you have to rush. Would you like to give us words of encouragement and also let our audience know who you are and where they can find you, please?
Well, that was kind of my words of encouragement.
Okay, so who you are, who is Amanda, and where can they find Amanda?
I'm a teacher and an author, and I love to empower people to find their own passions and dharma and creativity within themselves. It's a lot of what Grant talked about earlier was that finding that spark and that passion, and that allows people to overcome their fear of speaking on stage or to become a speaker. And so I really love to help people find what their creative spark is. Grant?
Thank you, Amanda. Yeah, I just think that really this is the key part. To overcome anxiety is to understand a couple of key things. And that is to understand that, stress is about something that's really already happened. Anxiety is the anticipation of something that hasn't happened. So why don't you start to rewire your mind? And if you want, I can help you with that, to anticipate a good outcome. Because when you look at your life, in general, most things are good. So mathematically, statistically, this thing should turn out good, if only we choose to look at it that way. And one thing's for sure, if you go in with that positive mindset, with that good intention, even if there's a dispute, never with an intention to argue, but with an intention to get to the truth, with an intention to make something better, people somehow feel that. And then that, by default, makes the situation better, I think. So that's something you can adopt when it comes to anxiety, and take on anxiety gleefully if you just choose to look at it from a different angle. So that's what anxiety can be. And of course, you can just always look at it and realize that there's better things to be doing. Ask yourself a few questions. The quality of your life is defined by the quality of questions you ask yourself. And even when I was 5 years old, my parents used to call me Little Mr. Questions, because I always had questions about what's this, why is that? So I was always soul searching one way or another, or driving my parents mad, whichever way you look at it, when I was a kid. So always ask yourself better questions, and it will lead you to a better answer. And that's never been more prevalent than when it comes to anxiety. So who am I? I'm Grant. I'm Grant Morrell. I'm an international speaker, coach, trainer, and international best-selling author. And over the past 20 years, myself and an international team, we have helped thousands of individuals, entrepreneurs, business owners, and organizations across 15 plus countries. We generally help them to increase their profits by up to 200%, often in just a few short months, if they listen. Because we work with their teams, because everybody does have a team, if only you knew it. Everybody has a team, their systems, their mindset, and their strategy, so that they can live a life of passion, purpose, and freedom from anxiety, and live a business and a lifestyle that can become a legacy for generations to come. That's what we do. If you want to contact me, you can get me there, Grant.Morrell on Instagram, and I will talk with you more. I will help you more and help you to achieve that life or that business that you really want, so that you can do something that means an awful lot to you and to help other people. That's who I am. That's what I do. That's why I'm here. Nomsa.
Thank you so much, Grant and Amanda. And please, guys, if you want to get in touch with Amanda and Grant, if you can't get hold of them, you can get in touch with them through my website. You can see my website there, www.hseia.com. And for me, my words of encouragement will be, in order for you to find hope to actually deal with anxiety, if you're struggling, it's not an easy thing to do, and the mindset as well, to create that mindset is easy once you start at the beginning, but you can get support, and the coaches at Ngozi Talk Shows, they can support you with that. And that's why we help you find your own voice, so you can get in touch with us and find out which coach that you like to work, and then you can just connect with our coach, and or just get support from the doctors, the professional. And once you create that framework, everything flows. It's like it becomes your everyday habit. And that's what we do here. We're here at Ngozi Talk Shows Monday to Friday. For me, I'm your love harmonist. I'm not at Ngozi Talk Shows. I'm at Hope Springs Eternal Introduction Agency. Harmonize love. Love is what I do, connecting people and helping people find their own voice and lead from within. If you want to connect with me, you're single, you have a job. I don't take people who don't work. So within my agency, if you don't have a job, there's got to be a reason, because you have to have goals. Anyone in life, you have to have goals. So if you are somebody who's been laid off, it's fine. I take you, because if you're passionate and you're looking for work, that's absolutely fine. I think also talk shows, connect with us. And we have different coaches for all different walks of life. So you can choose your problem, and then I'll connect you with the right person. Live with grace, everyone, and God bless. See you tomorrow.